Good morning to you once again. Thank you so much for being with us on Friday's edition of Morning at NTV. Now, we get to bring you conversations that are not your regular decision-making conversations. In other words, they're not political, they're not national matters, they're not what is the disaster that has happened. However, there are things that we also need to adopt into our lifestyles and maybe help us value and recheck our lifestyles as we do our day-to-day living. And so we're going to have a very poignant conversation, one that is queer but yet very important for you to have a consideration in. If you're one that is already in this line of this conversation, then kudos to you. I would definitely like to hear from you. Hashtag Morning at NTV across all our social media platforms. You can engage with us. I am Priscilla Regina Dalwoga, focusing on untapping potential in cycling mobility and also promoting cycling as a sport in Uganda and more so the East African region. Now, to many, of course, like myself, I remember the bicycle I had when I was a child, my first bicycle. It was a pink bicycle with extra tires. You know, as a child, for gaining your stability and confidence on the bicycle, they give it extra tires. And I wish I had gotten that picture. Me and the bike were having so many colors. But anyway, by and large, bicycles have been part of a child's upbringing, especially for us here in Uganda. And they also, over time, have been an opportunity for people to manage their health and also reduce the risks that come with some of the problems that they have health-wise. COVID-19 also showed us that, hey, it can be an option for transport. You know, cycling was always seen as one for the peasants, the poor people who are looking for jobs, the Chigari people. But COVID-19 rewired our minds to realize that no, this is actually a very, very good mode of moving from one place to another. First of all, you're not going to have to spend close to 6,000 shillings on a liter of fuel to move from one place to another. So you're saving in the long run. Your health is good, your mental is good. A lot of things get to be supported and ticks get to be checked off boxes when you are engaged in cycling. But also at the same time, you get to look at it as a key component in transition to sustainable transportation systems. And this is particularly for Africa. If you've been having the privilege of traveling to outside of Africa, you get to realize that across Europe, cycling is a normal thing. Actually, cycling is the #1 thing, cars is the #2 thing. Yeah. Anyway, you also get to look at races. You have the first bicycle race popularly held to have been a 1,200-meter race, and this was in May 1868, having been won by expatriate Englishman James Moore, who rode a wooden bicycle with solid wooden rubber tires. And so you get to see that even in terms of sporting or competitiveness, it's also something that you can engage in. So there's so many facets to this. Anyway, I'm going to be having a conversation around cycling, what it is as a sport in Uganda, the build-up also to the East African cycling race that is before us. And Tony Katamba joins us for this conversation. Good morning to you, Tony.
Good morning, Regina.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
So you walk in with your glasses, and I'm thinking like, but dude, it rained. How are you wearing glasses, or those, you know, those, I don't know what you call them in your side of things?
Well, Regina, cycling glasses are not a thing for weather. Yeah. When you're cyclists, you put on your glasses because you put safety first. When you're on high speed and your eyes are open, anything can happen. In rainy weather, you'll have issues with the water. They'll be hitting your eyes direct. Right. And then just in case you're speeding, for example, 50 kilometers an hour, and just a small insect gets into your eye is enough for you to get a fatal accident. Yeah. So for cyclists, glasses are not a thing for design. Yeah. They're an essential component of safety.
Okay, all right, but let's go back to when you started picking up interest in cycling. Tell us about your journey.
All right, I have been cycling all my life. I got bikes like you did when I was a child, thanks to my parents. But the real interest came again around COVID. And people saw me come to offices on a bicycle. And I rode a very poor bike. So when COVID came, I was like, I need to do this more. I went to buy a bike. And when I went to buy a bike, I noticed that there were groups riding online, doing it formally online. So I joined, I went and met the members of Fun Cycling Uganda at the time and joined, and then went and bought a new bike. That journey of buying a new bike for the time, you know, connected me with a very passionate cycling enthusiast, a semi-professional, Ismail Lance Sebaiga, who has been in cycling development for a long time. But we connected when we sat down, had a conversation. Of course, I bought a bike from him, but we sat down. How
much did that cost you? They tend to be very expensive, though.
Usually, we don't like to discuss bike prices.
I mean, for people who could be interested, and it's just a matter of where do I get the bicycle and how much would it cost me?
Well, if you're looking to ride as an enthusiast, you need a safe bike. You need a bike that will take you from here to Jinja without having issues. You need a bike that because of our roads, you need a bike that will be strong enough to take you to Mbarara when you decide to. And we ride a lot. We ride every weekend. So you need a bike of a minimum 2 million shillings, a minimum. And the beauty is that half the time we can actually get access to these bikes second-hand, which really makes it cheaper for people who can't really afford the expensive bikes. So there's quite some good bikes on the used market, and you can get cheaper bikes.
All right. So cycling as a sport in Uganda is not so popular. I think it's just the Rwanda that made us go like, hey, wait, we actually have this in East Africa. And so it begs the question, why is this sport so much in the back room for Uganda?
Uganda, like you said in your introduction, has had cycling as a poor man's activity, so to speak.
The government keeps giving bicycles to farmers and poor people.
The kind of bicycles that we've grown up seeing our parents in the villages riding to do all the work. Maniga Chifuba. And so, because of that culture, people have taken cycling as a poor man's thing, bicycles as a poor man's thing before. But I guess it's the lack of information, because if you cross over and go to Europe, cycling is one of the biggest items. The cycling events are some of the biggest things. And in Europe now, especially in the Scandinavia, you have most of the countries now have go to work. 68% of the people go to work on bicycles in Japan, in Europe, in Holland, in Denmark, everywhere. So I think now the onus is on us to bring it to the people that it's actually a reliable means of transport, but most important, it's a healthy means of transport. If you ride a bicycle every day, you'll get rid of more than 50% of the ailments you get physically. You'll be a very healthy person if you ride every day, even if you ride weekly. So it's important to keep the population healthy, and people need now to appreciate that you can actually afford a bike that can move you from point A to B. You can actually go to Mpigi and get there in an hour. You can actually go to on a bicycle.
I imagine myself cycling to Mpigi and just going past the traffic and say bye.
Well, one of the challenges is,
I mean, you don't have to go through those cumbersome lines, especially the fact that they're walking on that road, so the jump can be a little bit unexpected.
The jam is crazy, but our roads are also not safe per se because of the discipline on the roads, especially with the border borders. And this is one of the reasons actually cycling hasn't really picked up, because if you pick someone new and tell them, let's go and cycle on Ugandan roads, they'll be like, no way. Border borders?
It's already bad enough for border borders.
Yes. But it is a discipline that is improving, and we need to take it more to the people and tell them, listen, cyclists are also road users like you are. and they need to be respected and they need to be protected, because they are also trying to get to a place like you're trying to go to a place, and if you don't respect them, then there's repercussions for that, and that's the conversation we should be having to make the roads safer for everyone.
What other conversations should you be having? Because it's not a popular sport, but it's slowly picking up momentum. And given the fact that you've been now doing it for about 3 years, what are some of the other challenges that you feel ought to be addressed?
There's quite a number of challenges with cycling. If you look at the administration of cycling as a sport, we could do better, but we work closely with the Cycling Association leadership, and we are giving the technical advice that we can. They come to us and we have conversations and see how we can better what we are doing, because now that cycling is getting bigger, we need to start taking it as a serious thing, because I mean there are people earning millions of euros every year just by cycling. If you get to the professional level, there is that bit. Cycling has a lot of potential in terms of opening up jobs. When you look at that tour you're talking about in Rwanda, for example, or the Tour de France that we all know, the jobs that are tied onto that tour, so many. You have mechanics, you have marshals, you have technical directors, you have so many people, and then you have the managers, and then you have the processes, and then you have the teams. That so many jobs, to the extent that if you develop it, if you work towards developing it and realize that level of development that we need, then you'll also chip in terms of solving the unemployment problem that we are suffering with as a country. Okay.
All right. In that regard, when it comes to the cycling calendar for us in Uganda, are there any significant events that happen on an annual basis for cyclists?
Well, Uganda is quite a challenge. And the reason is, from the time I got into cycling development, I have approached so many people, government agencies, we've been to ministries, we've been to Ministry of Works, we've been to the stakeholders that you know, and we are telling them, listen, there's a Tour de Rwanda down here, and we have the talent right here. Can we do something to you know, help our cyclists as well? And one of the main things they will tell you is there is no money. Yeah. But that's not a big threat, because if they've not planned for the money, then you don't expect them to get it overnight. Yeah. But what we are saying is that cycling is one of the best platforms, yeah, for corporate companies to deliver their brands to their people. Yeah. They are physically within the communities. They ride within the communities. But beyond that, the value that you get from a tour that connects with people for over a week, yeah, is immense as a brand. You are online for over a week, you are on the big screens on TV or on YouTube channels for over a week. If you look at the audiences for Tour de Rwanda, which is not even yet properly on TV, you'll be amazed. So what we are saying is that the value is way beyond what you get from the event itself, even though you interact with a lot of people, even along the way as you go through the event. So what we are saying is that we need to get in touch with the brands that appreciate what cycling does to the individual, that want to connect, that want to communicate that cycling is a healthy option, and the entire world is looking towards being healthy and being fit. And this is what connects us, for example, at the moment with the sponsors of the Grand Nairobi, because they have a product that wants to deliver a communication that you need to stay healthy, be fit, and cycling is one of the best things to do.
Before we get into that, you've talked about the difficulties that you have faced interacting with different government agencies, state actors and non-state actors, simply because they don't really see it the way you are seeing it. But perhaps there's change of mind with the recent Olympics 2024, where we had Charles Kajo, the first Ugandan Olympian in cycling, and also not a bad finish for him, a 77th position out of 90. That definitely put this sport on the map as far as Uganda is concerned, and I'm sure it has changed things for you. Talk to us about that.
Excellent performance by Charles Kajo. We give respect to that boy in so many regards. First of all, he's such a super professional. He's very disciplined, and he's such a good example to the young cyclists in Uganda. That boy has fought on his own to get to the top, because for you to qualify for the Olympics, you need to participate in certain races that are not necessarily available in Uganda. And so he has moved the world. Charles has been a professional for a while now. He rode with Bike Aid Germany, left it, went for Pro Touch South Africa when he participated in the Tour de Rwanda with Pro Touch. But also he has been pushing, and he's relentless, and that's how we qualified for the Olympics. And what a performance in the Olympics. We couldn't have gotten a better advert for cycling, because the only thing he could do in that race was to put our flag ahead of the race for over an hour, which was amazing for Ugandan cycling, and for the for any Ugandan who wishes Uganda well. So amazing performance. Charles Kajo is a special guy to cycling, and for us now, we are saying that for the guys who do not have the push that Kajo has, how do we help them to get to that point? The young cyclists, and that's where our focus is. Time has showed us that Uganda has a lot of talent. It could actually have more talent than anyone in the region. And the results from things like the Grand Nairobi will show you that. But our development, there is no development structures at all. How do you pick that kid who is not yet 14 years, who is not yet 10 years, and tell them that cycling is actually sustainable and it's a reliable thing that you can take on and live on, and you're able to, the same way they are doing with football. It makes so many things difficult, because Uganda does not really have a calendar that you can take on and say, these are the races that we are going to use to choose someone to help to participate in this. And I'll give it context with a sport that you understand well. Imagine you had to select a Ugandan team to represent you in a football tournament, say in Africa Cup of Nations, but you didn't have a league here, you didn't have the Masaza Cup here.
That is already disqualification.
It is extremely
that actually promote you to participate on the continental level.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now that's something that cycling doesn't have. We have yes, the association does what you call a national championship, but you can't have a national championship for one day. It will not give you the best rider, because even the best rider can have a challenge on a one-day race. So you'll probably not get the best results, and so you keep taking people who are not the best for competitions. So we need to have competitions here that prepare people to the right people to take to different stages. We have the World Championship coming up besides the Olympics. People keep going for different things. There was Islamic Games last year, and the selection process is really not as good as you would have wanted. And these are things that we want, because you need to have a process, a proper process that that helps you come up with the best to represent the country at different stages.
Okay, so the way the professional cycling is done, your back is kind of tilted all the way, all the time, for hours and hours. Is it that detrimental to your, your spinal cord? I'm seeing the men on the screen there, and you do that for 6 hours, for 7 hours. I think by the time you're done, your back must be throbbing.
As a professional, there's so much detail that goes into that bike.
Okay.
First of all, you're supposed to be riding the right size for your height. on top of the right size, you're supposed to be riding the right saddle height for you. On top of that, you're supposed to be doing the right crank length, the right. So those professionals,
it's more
you see,
mathematical than we
a lot more mathematical. A lot more mathematical. The position of your cockpit is supposed to be particular. The position you see with the back bent is actually the right position. It's actually the safe position, healthy-wise. If you go onto that racing bike and then you want to keep your back stiff, you'll get pain before 50 kilometers, and then you will not be able to complete the race. So actually, most of the things you see are researched. You see the arms are a little relaxed. It's researched, because if they are stiff, they get tired and they get hurt. It's a professional position, and that has nothing to do with what.
Okay, because it's one of the reasons I said, you know, I was a pro when I was a child. I don't think I want to
and what happened?
myself to become a mokade with a bent back. Anyway, Kataba, let's talk about the 2024 edition, the Grand Nairobi, biggest race in East Africa as well as Central Africa. And let's talk about the last year. Our riders had good performances in 4 categories. We had top 3 podium standings for Ugandans, and that there was also the Mamba category that was a Ugandans. I think you were right to say that there's actually very good talent here.
Yes, like I said, the talent is here. Last year's Grand Nairobi, we were in Nairobi. Again, Jubilee sponsored us to go to Nairobi as the main sponsor of the other event across. And 4 out of the first 3 in the main race, were Ugandan. We had Paul Lemuria, number 1, then we had Kamau, who is Kenyan, number 2, we had number 3, Jordan Schleck, and then we had Charles Kajimu in number 4, and we had so many other boys follow. And what that really emphasizes is that... I
didn't hear your name, but okay, let's go on.
I'll give you the why it didn't come up. But that shows you how much talent we have here. We do not have development programs here, and that's why most of our professionals are training in Nairobi. But our boys are there, and they're capable of having such performances. We had Dunstan Seuliba, who was... Dansan, was it Pusulwa? Who was number 2 in the Black Mamba. Now, if people must know the Black Mamba category, that is the local bike you talked about, the hero bike, Manyiga Chifuba. What cyclists here call the tipper. Very hard guy. He only lost the number 1 spot on the final turn because he made a mistake, and we were seeing him and he was coming from Nama and he just made a mistake and the Kenyan overtook him. So he's probably going back to revenge. So yes, we had very good representation. We had several guys in under 23. We had Shafiq Mugalu, who is also training in Nairobi. We had another boy, I don't quite remember his name, but our performance was amazing. And that's the first time we went as Team Uganda official. So this time round, we are even more prepared. We are going more prepared, and we have decided to take, we have got more time in terms of selection. Like I told you, the selection here can be a bit hard, but we have got more time. We have approached the teams that are in development here, and they have given us their best riders, and we're hoping for better results when we go to Nairobi. Okay.
All right. How inclusive is this sport for women? Because in the names you mentioned, I didn't hear any ladies' name.
Last year we had 2 women. We had the very popular Shamal Nakabuye, who is not a professional rider, but she's an enthusiast who is a fun rider who has been there, who has ridden across East Africa with the GACs. And then we had a lady, I don't remember the name. This year, we are taking 11 ladies as part of the team. That's how inclusive it is, and it has been strategic because we want to have more and more women. If you look at the kitty for Grand Nairobi, every category has ladies, and they're earning the same amount of money with men.
Oh, that's good.
Which is a super commitment in terms of cycling.
Yeah.
So for the ladies who want to take up this sport, I can tell you, I can honestly tell you, it is my opinion, but I trust it. It's easier to break through as a lady, even with world cycling, compared to men, because the competition with men is fierce. So if you have the commitment, the level of commitment that it takes, as a lady, you'll break through, and we'll be discussing you the next time we are here. Because
okay, all right, that will be me.
Yes.
The next time he'll be here, we'll be discussing me.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about the categories for Grand Nairobi, and then what's the criteria, or how does one be eligible if you're to be selected to participate?
Okay. In Uganda, and I'll talk about Uganda. The process is very complicated, like I told you, because we don't have qualification, you know, so it's complicated. But what we do when we are selecting people is we go to teams that are training here. We have teams that have been supported by committed men who are using their personal money. Yeah, we have a team coached by Coach Matovu, which has been there for a long time. Now, Coach Matovu is a father. He's been a semi-professional rider, but he's a father to one of our pro riders, Jordan Schleck. And he's such an enthusiast, and he has kept a team running and runs both men and women. And we go to such teams, yeah, and then pick people. Tell the coaches of those teams to give us their top people. But the difference with the Grand Nairobi is that it has all categories, including a family category. So then we have the opportunity to also come to groups like Fun Cycling and say, listen, we are going to Nairobi for the Grand Nairobi. Those who want to participate, we have such and such number of slots. Of course, we give them a minimum number of slots because we want to give more opportunity to the professional riders and to those who want to get to the professional level. But the process is like that for now. We hope that we'll have races, we'll have brands that invest in sponsoring races that can be used to determine the best riders that we have in the country. All you need is a series of probably 5 to 6 races a year to do that, and that will be good enough for us to come up with the best riders. Okay, so if we are planning for the next international competition using the Grand Nairobi, how then would the teams, or those that have performed very well, elevate into positioning themselves for the internationals in reflection of how well you say we performed last year? Okay, so first of all, like I told you, I think we had that conversation before we came on air, but like I said, there are teams, there are world tour teams in Nairobi. Ineos Grenadiers has already got a camp in Nairobi. Scouting and developing. We have a world tour team in Israel Premier Tech in Rwanda with projects in Rwanda. Those people are coming out to scout at such races. They don't have many. The alternative would be Tour de Rwanda. But Tour de Rwanda, for you to ride in Tour de Rwanda, you need to be in a pro team. Now, we don't even have a pro team in Uganda, and so we don't get invited to the Tour de Rwanda. Okay. So the riders here have got to fight to find some place to get a pro team in Africa, somewhere in Africa, so that it is a team that is going to be invited by the Tour de Rwanda. Shafiq Mugalu was in Tour de Rwanda last year. He's riding for an Eritrean team. So what we need to do is to actually move towards, having at least a pro team in Uganda with proper development structures. When you develop a professional, you don't only look at the pedaling. you could be very good at cycling, at pedaling, but if your discipline is not good, if you can't communicate with the rest of the team, if you can't be friendly with the rest of the team, if you cannot support your team members, if your technical attributes are not good enough, if you can't ride with so many riders, have you seen the big peloton when it's moving? Yeah. They move 60 kilometers an hour and they are just close to each other. You need to be able to move in that peloton and not cause others problems. Wow. Now, those are things that we don't get by cycling just one by one. Mm-hmm. You need to get that platform, get there, be able to compete, know what's required, but also get the right pro attributes when you're still young, so that when you get that opportunity, the teams are like, that is the right person we are looking for, that is the right person we are looking for, so that you take it with your two hands and then get to the next level. And that's the kind of platform that...
All right, so if a bike is on a minimum of 2 million Ugandan shillings, where are you getting the funding to participate in the Grand Nairobi?
Well, isn't that the challenge I told you before? I told you about before? That's the challenge to cyclists. If you are going to get a bike to race, you need to first make the money. Mm-hmm. Now, we are talking about developing young kids. These are kids who don't have jobs. The best opportunity they have is to get into a team with a man who is funding. There are some brilliant gentlemen downtown who are trying to finance projects in cycling. And there are also teams. There is one more child in Ginger that has done very good development work in Ginger. There is a Masaka project with the Masaka team. There's so many different teams, yeah? There is Coach Matavu's team, like I told you, there is BK. But the thing is, you can't always rely on personal money, yeah, for development, because what happens is when the money is less with someone who is supporting you, then it all dies. And this is what happens. It's the rich people that invest in the teams that we think are going to develop the riders to represent us at different levels. Okay. And I think we need to get beyond that point and then start getting brands to trust us, and invest in the sport, invest in projects that are long-term, projects that are going to build sustainable development programs that will bring up riders that we'll be able to talk about in the next.
For us, Katamba, how are we going to get to Nairobi? Are we having partnerships that are aiding the teams to go there?
Thank you. Jubilee Insurance, Jubilee Live Free, through their product Maisha Fiti in Nairobi, are sponsoring the Grand Nairobi. They are the main sponsors of the Grand Nairobi, and because Jubilee Insurance is a regional company, they came to us, Moonlight Cycling, who are in development to help them coordinate the Ugandan contingent to the Grand Nairobi. This is the second year they are doing it. And there's nothing better than this for Ugandan cycling. The sponsorship might not be as big as we want it to be, but we need to take the baby steps towards, appreciating and demonstrating to the corporates that it actually works. And I have been telling the corporates I've approached that yes, cycling has had its issues before. It has been a local thing with a local perception, but we are moving towards professionalizing it. And that journey, we need to move with them in that journey for us to be able to achieve what we want to achieve. And this is why we really, really appreciate Jubilee Life for this sponsorship. We hope that we do well and they trust us and it keeps growing. We value this partnership because, number one, it's enabling the cyclists to travel to Nairobi and back by bus, but also it is a demonstration to other clients that cycling can give you the kind of value you are looking for. First of all, they promote healthy living, and this is an opportunity for them through their Maisha Fiti to tell people that cycling is a healthy living option, lifestyle. So on top of that, cycling does a lot of things. The world is talking about a greener planet, and this is the best way to go. The world, there's so many benefits, but beyond the value that you get with just being at the race, cycling is one of the most viewed sports on TV and online. And now people need to appreciate, brands need to appreciate that you do not only get the value at the venues, at the finish points, and at, even though there's a lot of value there, even though cycling goes through the communities that you want to connect with, cycling gives you a lot of eyeballs. If you sponsor, for example, a tour that goes on for 5 days, you have eyeballs on your brand for over 5 days. Pre, post, and the whole world is talking about you, and the value it comes with is priceless. So we need more brands to appreciate this, and we are really, really proud of Jubilee, and we hope that this partnership grows. We hope that next year it's even better. They're even able to take more participants. In this journey of development, we'll take these baby steps, and we are very proud of the sponsorship. Speaking of baby steps,
what baby steps are being taken to encourage women in cycling? I was telling you earlier, there's an Ismail somewhere that I met, and he's talking about cycling, and you know, he had all the things were in check, and then he told me, now you need a bicycle. I said, okay, fine. They said, now you also need kata. You need it's like you need a whole military compound.
we need to summon that guy. He scared you of the game.
Honestly, he did, because I'm like, I thought it's just get a bicycle and ride and enjoy. But you know, pads here, what with the kind of attire you have to wear is a particular make, a particular thing. I'm like, Ismail, I think I will pause it at that until we meet again.
Well, I will.
So how are you encouraging women in this sport?
I will tell you honestly that we are encouraging women in so many ways. In fun cycling, for example, they have got membership discounts for women, and we encourage women, and we have members who actually pay for women, specifically young women, because we want to give more opportunities to women. But also, when we get opportunities for professionalizing, for development, we make sure that we involve as many women as possible. Most of the girls we are taking to Nairobi have never been on a race track before. But because the opportunity has come, we are saying there is always a first time, and we need to create this opportunity for them. So there's encouragement in so many ways, and I've seen so many cycling groups, you know, even subsidizing bicycles for ladies. The challenge we have is that this is still at an individual level. Someone comes and says, oh, she wants to join, I'll pay half of the bike, or we will contribute and actually buy a bike. And I've seen these things happen with Fun Cycling Uganda. But we need to have, like I said, we need to have programs, focused programs that work on development and focus on actually recruiting women and facilitating their entry into the sport. The one thing I don't agree with is the guy who helped you, because there's a thin line between discouraging and encouraging. You don't need to be like a robot to cycle. Yes, our cycling environment is one of the hindrances. It's not safe because of the borders. But riding in groups helps. So if you have a friend or two that you can ride with and you go together, you keep, one, you're more visible on the road, but also you look out for each other, and then you are safer. But if you don't trust your friends enough, then find a group to ride with. There are so many riding groups I know now that are coming up on different villages and different places. What Moonlight Cycling is doing cannot accommodate everyone, because they are trying to do development for professionals. We're looking to, you know, at some point we hope we can build a place where we recruit young ones and we're even able to give them education as we work on their development. Education and the etiquette and all those things that they need to become professionals. But that is not going to happen overnight. We need, it's a gradual process, and we're still using individual resources, personal resources, and we need to get partners in this process to make sure that we get there. But before we get there, probably check into a riding group, a cycling group. They're fun. They'll make distances for you that you can handle, and then you can start there, and then get the confidence, and then start enjoying, and then start coming to work on bicycles.
Oh yes. All right. On our sideline conversation, you did make mention of the fact that if someone tapped into this sport in 5 years' time, they will not regret that decision. What did you mean?
What I meant is that the value that comes with sponsoring a cycling event that is big enough is immeasurable. I'll give you an example. Mercedes-Benz is one of the main sponsors of the world mountain bike races. Actually, I think it's the main sponsor. It's not because you're going to ride a Mercedes-Benz bicycle. It's not because they want to sell you something. But they are looking at the value that you get on the screen. And this is where the real value is, because you're going to reach millions when you get on screen. When you get on, and for me, I think one of the biggest things when you have such a big event is the media coverage, the online presence, because this is where the real value for clients is. You reach millions of eyeballs, and it doesn't have boundaries. I'll tell you, I watched every stage of the recently concluded Volta d'Espana, the last Tour de France. You know, you all watched the Olympics because Charles was there, and there was a buzz, and your flag was ahead of the race. But believe me, you saw all the brands that were there.
That's true.
And that's what clients should be looking at. Build something that gives you value, adds value to the world, and then, you know.
As we conclude this conversation, Tony, how do you best view the future of cycling in Uganda, based on the current status it has and the opportunities that do lie? I'm not even going to look at the challenges, because the challenges are there and there's nothing we can do about them. We know them. But as we get better, as we help the Cycling Association to improve in so many aspects, every one of us has got to do their part. I am here talking about the benefits and what people can do to get in. That's what you need to do everywhere you go. The gentlemen downtown who are investing money in the small teams that are doing the development work, that are giving young Ugandans the opportunity, need to keep going as much as they can, and we appreciate them. We will keep doing what we can. We are with Jubilee Life right now. We will keep trying to push at getting more events to give our kids the platform that they need. Those who can travel to Kenya will probably be able to participate in a big event in Uganda. And Uganda only has, I think, the Posho Classic, which is a one-day race. Like I told you, if we need to start identifying the right talent, we need to have a series of events, and we need to have big events for us to give us our young ones the platform they need to exhibit their talent. And so everyone in their caliber needs to do the little bit that they can for us to help each other to get the game to where we want it to be. All right, Tony Katamba, thank you so much for keeping the sport alive from an individual passion, now helping other people develop that sport for themselves.
Thank you, and thank you for hosting me.
Trying to push the government to realize and actualize sport, cycling as an official sport in Uganda.